Okay, so compound interest earns interest on top of interest. That's how it's different from simple interest. And we've got our basic formula here. So please write this down on your help sheet. Each of these variables are defined down here. Okay, so FV stands for your future value. That's what you're going to end up with in the future, what you will have. PV stands for your present value, how much you borrow or invest now. Your interest rate, the little I, we need to make sure that we divide that by 100 and we divide it by the number of times it compounds. Now, that means, we'll look at this in an example in a moment, but some terms that we should know. So all of these terms here, right? Annually means once. It could be compounded biannually or half yearly, so that's twice. Quarterly is 4, and so on. So just make sure that you've got those terms under control. You can also see that a question will ask you possibly, how much do I have to invest now? So that's your present value in order to accumulate, $10,000 in the future, and this is my interest rate and so on. So this is another one that you need to write down on your help sheet or your formula page, right? Rearranged formula. So make sure, pause the video, make sure that you've got those written down nicely. If you need to have these words over here written down, feel free. So pause the video and do that now. And then we're going to look at an example. Okay, so a short little situation that we have here. If I've got 4.2% compounded monthly for 5 years, remember we said you need to divide the 4.2% by 100 first, so that becomes 0, right? 0.042 because you've divided it by 100, and then because it's compounded monthly, you must now divide that by 12. Don't work this out in the calculator, you'll do it all in one hit. And your N is also affected because N is your time, and that's now 5 years, but you get paid interest every month. So if it's every month for 5 years, then N is 5 times 12. So that's how compound interest is a little bit different. Okay, we are now going to have a look at a simple example question here, and you can see that we've got simple interest, compounded annually, half yearly, and so on. So we're just going to pick the 3 to compare. So we'll have a look at simple interest first. Now, as soon as you read simple interest, the first thing that I would expect you to do, sorry, that just flipped. The first thing that I would expect you to do is to write down your simple interest formula. Okay, so we've got I equals P RT over 100. And then each of these I, P, R, and T, you should be able to see in the question. Now we know I is what we're wanting to find, right? Find the interest earned. P is how much you have invested, so that's our $35,000. And our R is rate for simple interest. We do not divide it by 100 because it's within the formula. And time, now it says 3 years. Remember, simple interest, it has to just be for in years. So it's a simple matter now. P times R times T, so it's 35,000. That's one too many zeros there, getting a little bit excited. So we just pop that into our formula. I'll just do, so we've just popped that into our calculator and we end up with the $4,725 in interest. All right, the next one that we will do is to compare. We're going to do the compounded annually. So again, as soon as we see compound, we write down our compound interest formula, which is this one. And what is it that we're trying to find, or in the information that we have? So we don't know the future value. We do know the present value, just like for simple interest, it's 35,000. The interest, instead of just saying 4.5, we have to divide that by 100, so it's 0.045. And our N is 3. Okay, now let's just pop this information into our calculator. Sorry, into our formula and then into our calculator. So the formula says PV times. So our PV, we said, was the 35,000 times, it says bracket, I put bracket plus 0.045 to the 3, and this is a simple matter. Pop that into your calculator. Okay, So 35,000 times 1 plus 0.045, okay, there's your to the button, 3, and we end up with 39,940. So 39,940, and we'll pop the 81 cents in. Now you might think, wow, that's a massive jump. Remember, this gives you your future value, so it's what you put in plus the interest that you earned. So in this case, your interest is going to be the $39,940 minus what you had put in to start with. So minus the 35 grand, and that then gives us $4,940. Okay, and the 81 cents. So you can see that we get a little bit more because it's compounded annually. You're earning interest on top of interest. Let's see what happens if we're going to do it compounded monthly. So we have our same formula. Write that down. We're still trying to find the future value. Our present value has not changed. However, look what happens with our I now. So our I, it's still 0.045, but it's compounded monthly, so I have to divide that by 12. Our N has also changed. It is now not just 3, because we're getting it every month for 3 years, so it's 3 times 12. Okay, when we pop that in our formula, I think I'm going to have to write pretty small here. It's 35,000. Okay, 1 plus. I'm not working this out on the calculator, right? The 0.045 divided by 12. My calculator is going to do all of that for me. Okay, and 3 times 12, I know it's 36, but again, I could write just 3 times 12 here, so make the calculator do everything. Because if it was daily, right, 3 times 365, I don't have to write that big number, I can just make the calculator do it. So again, here we go, 35,000 times bracket 1 plus, now you put your fraction button in there, all right, 0.045 over 12, arrow key out, and to the 3 times 12, and you can see, beautiful job, we expected just a little bit more, $40,048 and 67 cents, and so this time my interest will be, right, so we subtracted the 35,000, what we invested, and you can see we get a little bit more. So compare your $5,048 if you had just done it, compounded monthly, to simple interest, which is significantly less. Okay, so really the things that you have to watch for here are your I and your N, how they change. Formula's the same. And in the next video, we'll show you how you can do this also using your graphics calculator. We just want to do one more question. Okay, so the second type of question that we're going to get, 3 years ago, Holly invested an amount of money in an account paying 6.2% per annum, compounded annually. So again, as soon as we see compounded, we're going to our future value, present value, I and N. How much did Holly invest? So this time, how much did she put in originally? So this time we're finding the PV, which means our future value is the $5,497.77. Oops, sorry about that. Pen's gone a bit funny. The interest rate, so because it's compounded annually, then it's just 0.062. We divide it by 100. If it was compounded quarterly, we'd have to divide it by 4. But because it's just annually, then it's 1. So I'll just do the divide by 1, just so you know, okay? And of course, our N, it's 3 years. And again, I'm putting the times by 1, which is a bit silly because it's annually, but just to show you, if it was quarterly, then I have to times by 4. If it was monthly, times by 12, etc., etc. Now, if you go back right to the beginning, we've got our 2 formulas here, right? This one, we've got, it's rearranged to get, it's been rearranged to get PV by itself. To get rid of this times 1 plus I to the n, we just divide it. Okay, so that's the one we will write down here because we want to get the PV. So a nice organized help sheet will do wonders for you. So we end up with 1, that's your interest, that's your n, pop that into your calculator. So let's see how we go. So 54977.77 all over 1 plus 0.062 to the 3. Okay, let's just double check. Yep. Okay, press enter. Oops. So 4590. Okay, so your future value is bigger than what you invested originally, so that's correct. Okay, so you put down $4,590 now with this interest rate and you end up with more $5,497. Okay, hopefully that helps.